Hey, welcome everyone. Welcome to Girls Just Want to Fly. I'm Jade Lear, Flying Flamingo Jade, or you can reach me at paramotorgirl.com. And tonight we have a special guest from Idaho, but first I'd like to introduce my co-host, Cupcake Krista. How are you tonight, Krista?
I'm good. How are you?
Awesome. I am good. It's nice and hot here, just like Florida, I think, right now in Wisconsin. So, and tonight, guys, we have Tamie French, and she is from Boise, Idaho, and she is taking lessons currently right now. So I'd like to introduce Tamie. Tamie, how are you?
I am great. I'm excited. It feels so awesome to connect with other women who are doing this. So this is pretty cool for me.
That's awesome. So where are you exactly from?
Well, I grew up in Salt Lake City, Utah area, and my family has been living here in Boise for 12 years. So this is home. This is home.
How many, are you married? Any kids?
I am. My husband and I, his name's Doug. We've been married for 30 years.
Oh, wow.
And we have 4 children, right? Well, I can't really call them children. They're all adults now, ranging in age from 29 to 22. Our youngest just finished college and has a job, and we're trying to figure out how to be empty nesters and enjoying that time. So that's where we're at. And my son is my favorite because he's the only one who's given me grandbabies at this point. I have an 8-year-old granddaughter and a 9-month-old grandson, and they're the lights. They are just awesome. I love those guys.
We have a paramotor grandma.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, so are you willing to, my next question was, are you willing to reveal how old you are?
Sure. I am 52.
Okay. All right. Krista, do you got any questions?
Not yet. You look great for 52.
Well, good living, I guess.
Yes, she does.
What
got you into this sport, Tamie?
Well, I probably have a really odd getting into this sport kind of story. So I had mentioned that my husband and I were empty nesters, and after raising family and spending time doing that, being an empty nester is something to try to figure out how to navigate. And with this one particular time, he was a little discouraged and saying, we need to do something together. We need to have a hobby that we like doing together. And he says, but you don't like to do this. And I'm not a water sports kind of gal. It's watering my nose, not my favorite thing. And he was just kind of like, but what are we going to do? What can we do? And then a week later, he comes to me and goes, what do you think of paramotoring? And I'm like, I was at this point where I was, whatever it was he said, I was not going to say no, because I kind of am the fun sucker of the relationship. He's free spirited and I'm more grounded and straight laced. And I'm kind of one of those people, well, if we're going to do something together, can't we read a book together? Like read the same book? And that would not be in his wheelhouse at all. So I was not going to say no, whatever it was. I was up for it. And I said yes, knowing hardly anything about it. I think I've seen pictures of paragliders, not even powered paragliders. So I was up for it. I was not going to say no. And later he was telling me, he said, if you die, the kids are really going to be mad at me. And I'm like, well, if I die, I'll probably be mad at you too. But it was just one of those, like, we just jumped in both feet, and it's been an adventure. And it's so weird here being in Idaho, where there's not very many powered paragliding pilots. I was looking at that website that you had suggested, Jade.
EPG Zone?
Yes.
Yep.
And there was one other person from Idaho that was even on that site. And I know there's others, like my instructor wasn't even on that site. And the other, so there was one other person, and I registered, and that other person is not a woman. So it feels a little lonely. And but it's, so this connecting here is like, oh, just it's so cool. It's awesome.
I know. And that's exactly why I wanted to do this. And I've had so many gals willing to be on here. And I mean, I'm not quite a year into this, and it's like, I haven't met a whole lot of women that do fly down at Bad Apples. I met probably just a handful. And, but the guys were great too. I mean, all these guys that are in this paramotor family are just awesome, you know, and once you get to meet some of them, I mean, they do become truly family. So, right, Krista?
Correct. Correct. What school are you going to?
My instructor, his name is Zelko, and I always mess up his last name because anyway, so I'm not even going to attempt his last name. But he has a small business. It's called Boise Paramotors, and he does individual training. So my husband and I, we started together, and he started working with both of us, and then it kind of got to a point where I would be practicing kiting while he's working with my husband on the simulator, or just vice versa, and finding out that things that he told my husband, he assumed he had told me, and the things that he had told me, he assumed. So it kind of became, nope, let's just make sure that we get all the information at the same time to the same people. So it's pretty much individual. My husband and I were both there together, but he trains one of us at a time, and it's really a lot of hands-on. There's been very few times that we've sat down at a table and talked. It's all been mostly, let me show you what to do. You practice it. We practice simulator. And just go for it. So it's, kind of an hour at a time when the weather's good. This sport is one of those things that you can't schedule too far ahead in advance. So we do the best we can, and it's taken a while, and but that's just the way that it is. So, but it's fun. It's good.
And your weather hasn't been cooperating, I think you said, too much?
Well, I think perhaps at this point I'm super, super cautious. So if the weather's not really, really calm, if there's not, like, if it's over 7 knots, I think I just kind of go, maybe not this time. So sometimes it's only once or twice a week that we can get that kind of weather, and
Right.
And that's where I'm at right now. So, okay.
So one of the other couples that we met in Bad Apples, he sent me a message, and I think he posted it. And they're actually still down at Bad Apples, guys. They were the ones that Keith and Kat Gray, they both fly trike, and they're still down there. Well, anyway, he's on a app that you can see his altitude, and he goes, yep, Kat makes me the air dummy, meaning going up first. And that's pretty much what I make Eric do. And once he's up there and in his seat, I say, how is it? And he'll tell me yes or no, if I'm going to like it or not. So I usually make him be my dummy to go up in the air first, because I'm still kind of not liking turbulence too much. I like the buttery, smooth air. So,
Me. Yeah.
So how many flights have you taken?
So yesterday was my second flight.
Okay.
So not very many, and neither of my flights I came away with bruises, but in between the two flights, I had some unsuccessful takeoffs that, do you want to hear about that one?
Yeah, we do.
Okay. So after my first
that's
flight,
how I found you.
Yeah. Well, after my first flight, I was stoked. I'm like, I can do this. I know how to do this. I can take off. I can land. I can turn. I got the wing. Like I can do it. And then the next time that we tried, I had pulled the wing up, and a gust came, and so it kind of pulled. So I had to start over, lay everything back out again, and that happened twice. And on the third time, Zelko, he says to me, he says, how you doing? How you feeling? Do you think you have another takeoff in you? And I'm like, and physically, I felt like, yes, I was strong enough that I wasn't wiped out physically, that, yeah, I could do it. But come to find out, was mentally exhausted after those two frustrating times. And then it just takes time to set things up again. And so I get to the takeoff, and the wing is up, and I'm doing awesome. And all of this, so what I'm going to explain happened in just an instant, but I can slow play it in my mind because I knew exactly what I was doing. I knew exactly what I was thinking. So as I'm feeling the ground, as I'm feeling the steady firmness of the ground coming away from me, all I wanted in that moment was something steady and firm. And in my space, the only steady and firm thing was my risers. And I grabbed the risers, and I'm like, you're not supposed to grab the risers. Don't grab the risers. But I didn't care. I just wanted something steady and firm. So I grabbed the risers, continued throttling. Obviously, the wing came down, and my motor flipped me into a nice little face plant. And I scraped up my nose and my knee and my elbow, and I have a nice little purple bruise on the back of my calf where the motor landed on my knee, on my calf. But I was fine. I mean, it was just a little bruise, scrape, whatever. But I was just so embarrassed. I was so I know better than to do that. That's not the thing to do. But it was one of those experiences where I went, it is just, that was another one, but not this one particularly, but yeah.
Oh, this wasn't the one?
This wasn't the one, but no, I bruised my knees a couple of times, but it was one of those things that I just sat beating myself up. I know better than to do that. And it was a good lesson for me of recognizing when I'm mentally fatigued. And it's surprising to me how this particular sport for me is not only physically demanding, because you got to run, you got to have that motor on your back, and the wing, as you're pulling it up, it gets heavy when the wind and the air, and
it can be mentally draining.
But I didn't recognize how mentally draining, draining it was, and what that even looked like for me. But I know what that looks like. I know how that mentally draining feels, and I am not going to do this when I'm mentally drained again. There's a big difference between being physically exhausted and mentally exhausted, and that was where I was at. And so I got to be careful of that.
Yeah, truly. I know one time this winter, Eric and I tried going out onto a frozen lake, and he went up just fine. I was setting up. I'm a little bit slower, and I like to take my time because I don't want to rush and miss something. And of course, I've had a failed launch. Try it again after I set up, and I'm sweating because I got all my winter clothes on, and get back in, another failed launch. He's like, what's going on? And I'm like, I don't know. And now I'm like, okay, one last time, because my nerves are just done 3 times. And that's my rule to myself, is 3 times. And I have to take a break. So we took a break, went home for a couple hours, and he's like, do you want to try again later? I'm like, okay, I got to get over this. So, and I got over it. So it just happens, so.
Yeah. Well, after that, I had scheduled a time to go and try to fly Saturday morning, the very next day. And my instructor, he says to my husband, if she's sore in the morning, you let me know, because we won't do this, because he was expecting that I would have been more hurt than I was. And so that morning, I texted him and said, I'm not really up for it this morning. And I just was so stuck in this, maybe I don't have what it takes. Maybe I'm not, maybe this isn't for me. And I started watching a bunch of YouTube videos of women that were in this sport. And like I said, I don't have any experience with anybody else who's doing this except for my instructor and my husband. And you see all of these beautiful takeoffs and landings, and they're having a good time, and they've got their GoPros out, and it just looks effortless. And I'm thinking, this is not effortless. This is hard. And then I saw a video, or a YouTube video, that had this whole montage of someone showing their bruises. And I'm like, somebody can, they felt like, it's not like, what? Okay. And I just kind of, that was like a big aha awakening for me. And then the same person, I honestly, I'm not sure if it was the same video or another video, but I heard this woman on her video say, it's not easy. It's hard, but you can do it, and keep pushing through, because the payoff is so worth it. And that was where I heard this phrase in the video. Somebody said, maybe I don't have what it takes. And that was the words that were in my head. And I just started to cry. And then I heard her encouragement. It's not easy. Keep going. It's worth it. And that was the moment that I just felt all of this pressure, all of the frustration drain, going, I am not the only one that is experiencing this. I am not incapable. I am not weak. I am not, I can do this. And so that was, I have a sister, she's my baby sister, and she is my biggest cheerleader. And she calls me a badass. And I'm like, yeah, I'm a badass. I can do this. This is okay.
You are.
so, we'll just keep moving forward. It's just bruises. Okay, that's fine. I'll listen to my instructor. I'll trust my instructor. And we'll, then I won't grab the risers anymore.
Right. You learned your lesson, right?
I did. I totally did.
So when you fell, did you, besides your own, maybe your ego, did you break anything, any equipment at all? You didn't break any bones?
No, I didn't break anything that time. However, I have broken the propeller. I tried, it was a launch, and I jumped, jumping doesn't help. And I landed on my butt, and the propeller ran into the ground. And so I've broken a propeller. But that's really, I had another mishap with my frame, but that wasn't a result of flying. It was not being attached very securely to the trailer that we have, and it banged against something else. And so I had to get my frame welded back together. But the stuff is expensive. My husband, he's broken his frame and broken his trike, and
okay,
it happens.
Yep, it does. And it does happen to all of us. So you mentioned just now that your husband flies trike.
He does. I foot launch, and he has a trike. He started out trying to foot launch, and so a few years ago, he had an accident where he broke his ankle. And after a couple of reconstructive surgeries, and they ended up fusing his ankle, so he can't run. And so he tried running, but it doesn't work when you have a fused ankle to run. So he trike launches, and sometimes I think I get a little jealous, because it looks so easy on the trike than it does to run. But then I look at the way that he's landing, and I see the trike kind of go back and forth, and his weight, and I'm like, no, I like that I could just take it. I get to use my own body and just do it. So I'm jealous of his takeoffs, but not of his landings.
All right. So I never got to the point of foot launch. I did a tandem foot launch, but I've got a bad knee, and the instructor threw out there, hey, how about trying trike then? So that's what I do. And Eric was graduating from the foot launching, and then I was just about finished with trike, and he says, well, would you teach, to the instructor, would you teach me the trike also? So he does both. And from winter, we did both trike, being that we go off of our lake. And then this spring now he switched back, and he's back on the foot launch, and he says he likes that, I think, a lot better. It can move a little bit easier, he seems to say. So
okay, I'll take his word for it.
Yep. Krista, how was your vacation?
It was good. It was good. Went horseback riding.
You didn't bring a horse home?
No, she's trying. The daughter.
How old's your daughter?
22.
Also, she can buy her own horse.
Yeah. We're part-time empty nesters. So she's half and half.
Yeah, been there. Been there.
Yeah.
So
I said she can't move out. We'll see how it goes.
you won't let her move out?
No, I don't want to. I
Right.
know eventually I don't get a choice, but right now, no, I'm good.
Yeah, that's all right. Half and half then.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Tamie, so has your instructor taught you or showed you how to download or I guess talk about any apps that you could use? Do you use any or did he recommend any?
I have the PPG Flyer app
Okay.
and the Windy app. Those are the two that that I have. I actually use the Windy app all the time to try to figure out when it's right to fly. But the PPG Flyer app, the 2 times that I've flown, I forgot to turn it on. So I have it. I haven't used it, but I have it.
Yep, that's the one I use too.
Is it good? Yeah. It seems so user friendly and fun to even look back and see the flights that you've done. If I could, remember
Yep.
to do that. But
And then on the title, you can change it. I think it says untitled. You can go back into it, into your log, and you can change it to like your flight number too.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's cool.
The other one that our instructor had talked about, I don't think it's an app though, is just a website, Ryan Carlton, and that's for the weather, the wind and stuff. So you can check out that one too.
Nice. Nice.
Let's see what else. What type of equipment do you use at your school right now?
So I have, and I'm going to probably mess up the name. This is Vitorazzi Automated Motor.
Marazzi? Yep.
Yes, that's the one. And then I have a Skysema Power Glider or PWR glider.
Okay.
And I think mine is a medium, small. I'm not exactly
You know
sure
what?
what size. Say that again.
How many meters? How many meters is your weight?
I don't know how many meters it is. I don't. And the funny thing is with all of this is when my husband and I, when we decided to do this, he's a small school. It's his side hustle business, and so he sells the equipment and we just went, okay, we're either all in or we're not in. And so I sacrificed my new car and we bought equipment for both of us. So I let my husband and Zelko figure out, what we needed and what was going to work. And I didn't even care. I was just like, well, whatever you tell me, that's what I'm going to go with.
You're along for the ride.
I was along for the ride, and I was not, like I said, I was not saying no. I was just moving through. But yeah, I wanted to share something. Do you care if I'm just going to jump in anyway, whatever.
Go ahead.
But it's very early in our training. Doug and I were there with Zelko, and I think we were getting ready to kite, or I can't remember exactly. But we see this other PPG flyer come in and pilot come in, and he sets up his stuff. He takes off, and that was kind of cool. That was like the very first person that I had ever seen take off, and I'm like, oh, this is what it's supposed to be like. So that was cool. He flew around for the hour or whatever that we were having our lesson, and he came back in, landed, and then as we're all kind of getting ready to go, we're standing around in the parking area talking, and I found out that they call him Crazy Chris. So it's apparently Crazy Chris. That's the only time that I've even met him, and we're just talking, and I says, it's interesting, as I look on YouTube, I'm seeing that there's not very many women in this sport, and I just made a guess. I said maybe 30%, and his jaw drops and he goes, oh, I would be surprised if it's that high. You're the first woman I've ever actually seen trying to do this sport. And that was really shocking to me. I'm like, really? No, I'm not the kind of person to break a glass ceiling. That can't be right. But after my very first flight, Zelko says to me, you're the only female PPG pilot in Idaho that I even know of. And I'm like, wow, if that's true, that's pretty cool, but not me. Are you kidding? So I have tried to figure out if there's other female Idaho pilots. It's the other female, yeah, I said that right? Other female Idaho pilots. Yep. And I've connected. I did this Facebook group where I connected with you, Jade, and I looked at that PPG
Don't,
zone.
don't say the name of our secret page though. We don't want you guys to know.
Okay, guys, don't forget I said that. But I'm asking around, and maybe I am the only female powered paragliding pilot in Idaho. It feels really lonely even just to say that, but that's part of why I am just so excited to connect here. So it's kind of cool.
Last week's guest too, she felt the same way. I mean, her and I went to the same school, but she lives closer to that school airport, and it's like there's one other gal that's in the process, I think, of trying to take her first flight. So it's all guys otherwise. So, and I think there's only maybe if there was somebody before me. Eric, do you know if there was anybody before me? Any girls? So yeah, I think I was the first one down in the Madison area too. So, well, with that school at least. So yeah, something to say for yourself though too. What do your kids think of you and your husband for doing this?
They think we're crazy. They're not really on board. They're more well, they're not negative and saying don't do this, but they're really not supportive. I shared with them my first flight and I got thumbs up, but no comments, or from when I sent the video of my flight to them. I think they're nervous for us, but so what?
Yep.
So what? They're adults, and they can do things that adults get to do, and I get to do things that adults get to do. And I heard a story one time, or our instructor was talking to us that he had a student that was all ready to go, and he had already ordered his equipment and had been taking a few classes from Zelco and decided, yep, this is what I want to do. And then his wife said, please, 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 please don't do this. Don't do it. And so he had to back out of his deposit on his equipment and just didn't do it. And, I can understand where that kind of fear would come in, and
right.
It is a scary thing, but honestly, I'm not sure that it's any more risky than like snowboarding or even water skiing can be. Like, it's just, yes, you are up high, but it seems to me that if you follow the instructions, if you if you learn it well and you do what your instructors
right.
tell you to do, and you have enough experience before you go on your own of what it feels like to turn, what it feels like to take off, what it feels like when it gets a little bumpy, then I think it's okay. I think it's okay. And
that's what you just got to keep telling yourself. I sometimes will see a bad video and that sits in my head while I'm up there, and I sit there and think about that, and I look up at my wing all the time and I'm like, okay, please don't do that. And Eric's like, it's not going to happen. So as long as I'm not doing things that I shouldn't be doing, or know what I'm doing. So, and I'm just going to stay that way until I take another step forward. So yeah.
I think that's, and that's kind of where I'm at. I'm like, I'm just going to take the next step forward and not step too fast, because that time when I'm not mentally there and mentally fatigued, that was taking a step that I shouldn't have taken. And so
Yep.
it's just part of getting to know who I am. Like,
yep.
there's lots of ways to step into the unknown and take risks and get, just recognize how cool we are as human beings, as individuals, that and
And as long as your husband recognizes that it's time for you, that you need to step back, because I think, Eric, that time that I needed that time to take a break after my 3 attempts. And I was shaking. I was frustrated with myself. I didn't know why I wasn't getting up in the air. And I was done. And it's like, he's like, well, why are you mad? And I'm like, I'm not mad, but it's like, it sounded like I was mad. I was mad at myself,
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
I was taking it out on myself. And I don't think he knows that part of me, I'm like the sport type person, and I was frustrated and I just needed some time to myself. So, and I did. And I thought, well, if I don't get back out there, because we had also witnessed a bad crash, I think a week or so earlier, and that was sitting in my head too. And he's like, you got to get that out of your head. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good things happen and bad things happen. And
Yep.
and we can avoid the bad things as best we can with learning and keeping on that track of still.
You're always learning.
Fine.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's exactly how I'm going to be the rest of my life with the sport. So guys, do you have any questions at all? I know Eric had to go off and take a phone call. I've been trying to sneak a peek at the chat on YouTube. Krista, do you have anything?
Well, Brian said, what motor and wing does she, did you have to start out with? And what is she flying now? I know she already said what she's flying. Same thing?
Same thing. Yep. Same thing.
Okay. So what you started out with, you've had the entire time. Okay.
Yeah. Well, and I'm still really new. I'm still really, really new. So.
How long have you been in school? Training?
Well, we started, let's see, early fall of 2020, and didn't do very much through the winter, and then picked it back up in the spring. So I don't know how it at an hour at a time, a couple of times a week, once or twice a week, a few hours. Yeah. So once
sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say that we kind of had to stop training when the sun started going down earlier. At that time, I was watching my granddaughter until my son got home from work, and when the sun goes down at 5 o'clock and there's, he's still working, that it just doesn't work. So this is one of those sports that you kind of have to take that all into consideration too. When's the sun going down? When's the sun coming up? What's the time frame looking like? And so as soon as, in fact, daylight savings time hit, and I really couldn't train anymore. So
right. I know now we've got until almost like 9:30 here.
Yeah, so cool.
Shane and Krista can't believe it's light out here yet. Some nights when we're talking to them.
It's still kind of light.
Where are you at, Krista?
Florida.
Okay.
Florida.
So, question I had, how long was your first 2 flights? Do you have an idea about how long you were up there in the sky?
Less than 15 minutes.
Okay.
Not for very long. It was just doing that rectangular pattern coming in back against the wind and then going back into the wind.
Did you cry? Did you cry when you were up there the first time? I had a kind of a aha moment, like told my instructor, I can't believe I'm doing this. And it's like, and these were the clouds that I saw. Those were my clouds on my first flight. So.
Oh, that's fantastic. It's my first flight. I think I was more like a robot. I was just there doing exactly what he told me to do when he told me to do it. I remember looking down at the ground, and I was flying over some cows, and I'm like, okay, what if I crashed into the cows? Would the cows run over me? What is that like? And then there was a little pond, and I'm like, okay, what if I crashed into the pond? Like it was just more of this. I'm just going to do what he tells me, and I'm looking at the ground, and if I have to land there, what am I going to do? And if I have to land there, what am I going to do? And if I have it was just this whole no emotion. It was just all, I am a robot. I know what I got to do. I know it. And
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's totally where I was at. And my crying happened that day after my face plant, when I was watching YouTube videos going, oh my goodness, I don't have what it takes to do this. And that was crying. That was the worst feeling that I could have had, because I really want to do this. I'm so excited to be able to take a flight down through the Boise River area. I'm like so excited to just fly over these spaces where I have enjoyed trail running. I can't, like, I'm so excited to do those things. And I have those as major goals right now, to be able to just do those things and to sit there in that space going, maybe I don't have what it takes to do this. And maybe I'm never going to be able to fly over those trails that I love running. That just killed me. That was the crying. That was the sad moment. And honestly, as you described your feelings of just that elation of your first flight, I suspect that will kind of be the feelings that I have when I fly over these trails that I like running. That will be that'll be the elation. That'll be part of that awesome payoff that I am looking forward to. So,
you'll get there. You will.
I'm determined to get there, and I will. And it's nice to know that it's not as easy as YouTube makes it look.
Right. So I saw in the chat, Kent Staney had asked a question. Hang on. I think it was about
what is her altitude?
Yeah. Do you know how high you went, or?
I don't, because I didn't put that app on to tell me what my altitude was. I wasn't very high. I didn't go very high on these first couple of flights.
As I feel like I have depth perception problems. It's like I feel like I like flying higher. I have that instructor still telling me in my head, fly high, you're safer up higher. I'm scared of heights, and I don't know why I do it. It's something weird. But Eric flies a lot lower than me, and I just, for some reason, I told him the other day, I said, the trees look like they're fluffy little puffies coming out of the earth. And it's like, he's like, don't go near them. So I try to stay away from them. And then watching Shane, Never Trust a Skinny Chef, Shane doing some of his live videos over Alligator Cavern or Alley or something like that.
Yeah.
I think it's Alligator Alley.
Alligator Alley.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, thank you. So, Eric, could you hand?
Well, and I know it's safer higher up, that your wing has time to recover from collapse or whatever.
Yes.
And I think where I'm at right now in my training, I just got to get as many takeoffs and landings under my belt as possible. So these short, quick flights to try to get as many of those practices in to see what it feels like. And as you talked about the depth perception, I'm like in this space, like, okay, at what point do I start to flare? I feel like I'm coming in really fast and the ground's coming in really fast, but not yet. So it's one of those, just learning to know what the ground looks like at 50 feet.
It's all a timing.
Yeah.
It's like they say, the muscle memory, and mental muscle memory. So I know I was kind of dropping myself on the trike when I was doing my landings in my training, my 25 flights. And my instructor's like, you are going to crack this trike in half, because I was like coming 5 feet down and just dropping. I was just pulling my brakes way too soon. So,
Well, that's what my instructor told me that I did on this last flight that I did. He said, you fell 5 feet because you flared too early. And I'm like, I landed on my feet. What, really? What? Okay. but okay, I'll wait to flare a little bit more. But it's a learning process, and you know.
So knowing that you're new, knowing that you haven't seen any other women flying or really anybody else flying besides that one person and maybe your instructor.
My husband.
Have you heard of any fly-ins out in your state or near you? I'm probably good to say that you haven't been to a fly-in. Have you ever heard of them?
No, in fact, I remember watching a YouTube video and somebody was talking about fly-ins, and I'm like, ooh, that would be cool. But I do not want to be in the air with that many other pilots in the air. So maybe I would just go and intentionally leave my motor at home or something, just so that I could see it, be there, and rub shoulders with these people. But I think it would be really cool to be there, but I don't think I would get in the air at one of these things.
I recommend do not. That's exactly how I felt going to Bad Apples. And I felt like I needed an entire football field to take off and land. And it was the biggest fly-in so far. And I sat there that first night. We got there a little early, so I was able to fly beforehand. And as people were kind of strolling in, I would fly with the guys in the morning and the evening. And then as it started going on, I was sitting there one evening and my husband went up with the guys, that we were camping with. And I'm like, nope, Krista, I'm not going. And I would see like little openings out in the landing zone. And I'd watch and I'm like, I think I can do that. If I can kind of hop out there like Frogger with all my stuff and get out there and get set up, I think I can do it. And sure enough, I did it. So
nice.
Great
times.
Some guy we don't even know.
What's it?
Some guy we don't even know, like, helped you bring your stuff out to the fields. They're all great. Nice. Everyone's willing to help everyone. I definitely suggest going to a fly-in, even if you're not going to fly. You meet great people. Yep.
And then we have one of our guys that frequents our shows. He DP. He was getting ready to take lessons, and him and his wife drove a couple hours and spent the day with us. And he actually went up in a tandem and loved it. And I think he had a month to go before he had started his training. So, yeah. So he got to meet us all in person after all winter, talking to us on these crazy shows, and fun. It's just amazing getting to meet new friends and everything too, from all over the country.
Yeah, that would be really awesome. Well, one of the things that
go ahead.
I was just thinking, the places that we fly out of, there are two small airports around here, but there's no, they don't have nice grassy fields for us to fly out of, and it's all like just there's the runways and stuff, but
not even a little corner of grass that you can take off in.
No, and I called and left a message with one of the airports close by, one of the small airports close by, and said, what is the possibility of creating a space? But I haven't heard anything back, and maybe they will, maybe they won't, I don't know. So right now we fly from a sod farm, and my husband and I, there was a park that we were flying out, or that we were practicing in, and my husband was on his trike, and a police officer came and said there's no motorized vehicles in the park, and we're like, does this count as a motorized vehicle? But so for us to find a good space to go is not really easy. So trying to figure that out when there's not very many pilots around is. Yeah.
So I think a lot of people maybe Google or Google Earth. I looked at some plat books, and I actually looked up in the county records. I looked up names, and I mailed out, I think, 5 envelopes letters to people, property owners. One of them, they said they didn't own the property. The other one that we really want, they never responded. We did get one landing area, which we can't use right now because I think it's in hayfield and they haven't cut it yet. And I think during the summer, then there's going to be hay bales there if they don't, take them off right away and move them off the side. So, hey,
That's
there's
really great. That's really great advice. I can definitely
Yep.
look into that. That's really awesome. Yeah.
And I think I was watching a video on that where somebody else had said that they go into like the Google and they just kind of look, oh, that was just the other night on Paramotor Grandpa, Clear Prop TV. The gentleman on there was talking about, he goes on and tries to look for areas like even schools or, but you got to watch out for telephone or light posts and stuff like that. So.
Right.
So I got a question in the chat. Mark H, PPG trike jockey. He's asking us, gals, what are some of the hurdles the ladies experience or experienced that may not be apparent to us guys?
It's heavy.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
motor's heavy. It's heavy. And it's big. Like, okay, so I'm short. I am 5 feet tall, period. And I tell my doctor if she wants to write anything, if she can write whatever she wants on her paper, but I'm 5 foot tall. So I'm short. And the back of that, that frame, it's low on my body because I'm short. And so running with this heavy motor banging against my legs, I'm sure it's something that that you guys may not have to worry about, but there's something there. It takes
I'll
extra
agree with
effort.
that. And I'm only
And then
5'3".
pulling that wing up over your head. Oh, it's heavy. It's heavy.
Yep.
So it's heavy. There you go.
What other questions? Anybody else got any
What was
questions?
You got to answer the question.
What?
What's hard for you, women being in this sport? You didn't
Oh,
answer your question.
I'm not the best. It's hard for me. Keeping up with the husband and wanting to go all the time. I'm still in that mode of, I think I'm scared, but I think I'm not scared. He's right now sitting there going, it's good flying weather right now. So,
Sure. So I would say, and I don't fly, but it's a sausage party, and women think about our health and what we need to be to take care of the family. Men don't have that thought. They are fearless, and we have fear.
Yep,
Yeah,
I agree too.
I think that's part of our nurturing nature to be in that space where, okay, what does this look like for me to being able to do what the things that I really love doing, like taking care of my grandkids and yeah.
Sorry about that.
Makes a difference.
So I've got a couple other pictures. Can I share my screen here? And you can explain who this is.
Okay, this is my instructor. This is Zelko, and he took that selfie after I completed my very first flight.
A big smile.
And big smiles, yeah.
All right, and this one.
This is me doing some simulations, warming up my, I think this was the very first time that I had gotten my motor, and so we were kind of breaking it in.
Okay.
This is me doing some kiting. It's really blurry, but that's my wing. That's me with that harness on, trying to pull it up over my head.
All right. And then your bruises.
And then some bruises. Yep.
Gouges and your happy smile.
And there's me.
All right. Another question. And we got Kat Gray in here. She's the one I was telling you guys about that is still down at Bad Apples. So jealous. Do you feel like you learn little things every time that you fly?
Oh, yes. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. I don't know how to even say that without just going. Right now, I feel like I'm learning big things every time I do a lesson. And so it's so there's so much going on in my head of do this, make sure you do this, watch for this, and getting the information that I know is in my head that I've practiced to actually do it while I'm moving, while I can feel the wind in my face, when I know that when I can feel the wing up over my head, and just getting used to what it feels like to pull on those brake toggles without pulling them too hard, or it just having what it feels like. And so I feel like I'm learning big things, and I'm in so many times I feel like there's only so much space in here, and so when something new comes out, a little bit trickles out, and I have to find a way to put that one back in at another time. Over the winter, when we didn't do much, it was almost like I had to kind of start over again in the spring, because I just didn't, like things that Zelko would say, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember you telling me that, but I wasn't thinking about that at this moment. Oh yeah, I remember that. Or so if I wait too long, I then I have to remember. So I think it's just going to take some time, and that's okay. I am okay with taking the time that it takes, and that YouTube is not the best indicator of how easy this sport is. So,
Yep.
yeah.
So Cat, same gal, she has another question also. Do you feel comfortable in your seat that you remember?
Well, yeah, it's holding me up there. I want to get into that seat. I know. I want to get into that seat as fast as I can, and that's one of those things for me. So even practicing. What is it when they're pulling you and you're kind of going up and
Going?
Yes, that thing. So even there, I have to remind myself, don't jump, because I really want to jump into my seat as fast as I can. And if I don't have enough altitude, or if I let off the throttle a little bit, or the wind's a little, and I get into my seat too soon, I get that, what you saw in that picture with my knees, because
I just remember the instructor saying when I did my tandem and telling Eric, just keep running into the sky, and then you still see, guys, still their feet moving while they're still heading up there. So, yeah.
Well, and I find that it's almost like my seat scoops me up, and I have to intentionally and almost like arch my back a little bit so that I don't let the seat scoop me up until I'm high enough that I can sit back in that seat. But yes, I love the seat. Yes, I love that seat. And when he says it's time to pop out of the seat, I'm like, really already? No, hold on. So yeah, I love that.
You'll get to that point where he'll let you stay up there longer. He definitely will. And I can't wait to see the videos and the pictures on that. So is your husband around to talk about his experience on the trike?
He is not. He's not here. He's helping my daughter drop her car off to get new tires on her car. So he's doing the daddy thing.
Okay. All right. Well, you know what? It is 7:55 and you didn't think you were going to be able to do this.
I was thinking 15 minutes was all I knew to say. So I'm surprised. This has been really fun.
Krista, do you have anything else, or Shane, that you can think of, or Eric? Any guys in the chat? Any other questions for the first Idaho PPG female pilot?
It's awesome. I will say Shane went to his first flight after his first flying, after he finished class. He didn't bring his paramotor because he didn't want to be tempted, but he just went to meet people, and he met a lot of people. Some around our area, and he flies with them still today. So I think if you get out and network, you'll find probably more people than you knew. Maybe female, don't know, but it could be out there.
Yep,
that would be cool.
And if you ever get this way towards Wisconsin, let us know. We'll put you up, or we'll meet you somewhere to camp or whatever.
That would be awesome. That would be
So,
awesome.
Eric put the password into the chat. If anybody wants to join in for an after show, we can try it this week. And if anybody's got any further questions for Tamie or want the boys to come in and chat a little also, more than welcome to stop in. Angela, if you want to come in, or Glenn, or Kat, or Linda, will fly. So I am going to just do my exit real quick. And
Okay, yeah.
we're at 7:57, so